Hello IELTS candidates. In today's video, we are going to talk about how to study basic grammar for your IELTS preparation. We are going to focus on those students who did not have the opportunity to study from an English medium school when they were children, but now are forced to study English language from the very basic in order to appear for the IELTS exam. I hope that you learned something new today. Welcome to my IELTS stream. So the first thing that you need to do, if you are not from an English medium education and if you are not used to speaking or listening to English in your regular life, the first thing to do is to go according to the parts of speech of the English language. Now, there might be a lot of teachers out there who would tell you the opposite, who would tell you, don't go according to grammar, just learn the language. Now, that is okay if you have the exposure to English language, but if you don't, then you might need to start from the bare minimum, start from the alphabets. Now, a lot of people might not require this, but for those who are coming from schools that teach in regional languages and students who are not really used to writing in the English language, you should start from the very basic alphabets because you need to know the difference between the capital and the small letters. Once you start writing the task 1 and the task 2 of the IELTS exam, it is important to have a distinction between the capital and small letters. So that is where you start from the very basic and then you move on to the next topic, which is nouns and pronouns. After nouns and pronouns, there will be prepositions, adjectives, verbs, adverbs, modal verbs, conjunctions, and then finally tenses. So you need to take it stepwise and move to higher difficulty levels, and you need to start from the very basic. The second thing you need to do is while you are studying, go through a lot of examples. Like if you're studying nouns or pronouns and you are studying common nouns and proper nouns, then do look at a lot of sentence examples. Now, what are proper nouns? How to use proper nouns? Do they go in capital or in small? How are they placed in sentences? So if you do not read the examples, you might never get an idea of how to actually use these things, and that is why it is important to see a lot of sentence examples and actually learn how these individual parts of speech are used in the English language. If you have liked this video so far, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. It helps us really grow and encourages us to create better content for you. The third step is to switch between learning and practicing. Now, whatever you learn, if you finish a chapter, please go and practice it. How will you practice it? You can find a lot of books, or else you can simply search on Google for worksheets. For example, if you have finished nouns and pronouns, then practice nouns and pronouns by searching for worksheets for them. Solve those worksheets. Look at the answers. Have you scored well or have you not scored well? So the way that you should be learning is with practicing, not just learning chapter by chapter, but actually also applying what you're doing. And at the end of every week, you should sit down and revise everything that you learned. In this manner, you will have a proper schedule. You will not only be learning, but you will also be applying everything that you've learned. And this is the best way to actually remember whatever work you are doing. The next step is not just to focus on the technical parts of the language, but also on words, on vocabulary. Now, many people think that vocabulary is just high-level words, but no. For a candidate who is starting from very basic, you also need to know the very commonly used terms. How you can do this is in order to prepare for the IELTS exam. I will list the topics here, the topics that actually come in the IELTS exam in writing task 1, writing task 2, and especially in the speaking test. You can go topic wise and you can actually try to learn more and more words relating to this topic. Now, in order to learn about synonyms, I would recommend that you avoid Google, because Google will give you very far-fetched synonyms and you will not be able to learn how to use them. Collins Dictionary is one of the best ways to learn English language, because it gives you sentence examples and it also gives you closer synonyms. Now, while studying for new words, you should always note them down. You should note down the 2 closest synonyms and 2 sentence examples. Now, examples are important both while studying grammar and studying vocabulary, because if you do not know the sentence examples, you will not be able to apply those words. Now, if you are used to using your native language and you are not at ease with the English language, you will be tempted to use Google Translator, and it's actually only efficient if you want to get an idea of what that word means in your language, but Google Translator is not enough while studying for IELTS. You can use the Google Translator to get an idea of what that word means, but you will need to study that word in the English language in order to actually start using it. So, along with your grammar preparation, start studying vocabulary so that you can use more and more words to form sentences, to talk, to speak, to understand while you're doing reading and listening as well. After you have studied parts of speech and after you have started to study the words for the topics in the IELTS exam for 2 weeks, you can now start reading articles. You can follow pages on Facebook. You can follow BBC, CNN, New York Times, and you can start watching movies in English language with English subtitles so that you are able to understand what they are saying. Now, this helps you to actually grasp the language, to actually start processing it. Now, the first part of learning any language is always to process the language. Once you have familiarized yourself with nouns, pronouns, adjectives, verbs, after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you can start watching movies or a series on Netflix. It is better if you start with something that has British accent, because British accent is much more clear most of the time, not all of the time. But you can start with the British accent, and whatever words you hear or whatever words you read, you can search them up on Collins Dictionary and start writing for their meanings and for their sentence examples. This will help you build your vocabulary and actually get comfortable with using and understanding the English language. The next step now is to start getting some feedback. Now, feedback is important so that you understand where you're making mistakes. And in order to get that feedback, you will need someone who is good in English language. You can do this by 2 ways. One is you can start seeing a tutor or a teacher who teaches basic English. Or else, if you cannot afford one, or else if you don't have a good one, you can start making friends who speak good English. Now, you can do this with a lot of methods. You can make friends on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on WhatsApp. You have to start meeting more people who speak good English, and you can start talking to them, and they can give you feedback on what mistakes you're making. Now, they might not be able to tell you the technicalities of grammar, but they will tell you that this particular sentence that you're speaking is wrong and you should speak it in a different manner. So feedback is important for improvement, because if you don't know what you're doing wrong, you will never improve, and that is what you will be doing in your exam, and you will not score good. So try to find some way of incorporating feedback in your preparation. Next thing you can do is follow a good book. Now, you can follow a good book from the very beginning, but in order to start understanding books which are specifically made for IELTS preparation, you will need to do some background work in grammar. In order to learn grammar for purposes of IELTS, I would recommend the Cambridge IELTS grammar book. I'm going to link it down below. It is a very good book that will teach you how to apply the rules of grammar and how you can relate the rules of grammar to the IELTS exam. Now, this book is not organized according to the levels of grammar. Like, it does not start from nouns or pronouns, but it is quite mixed up. So you will need to first plan out the basic sequence in which you will study grammar, which I mentioned earlier. And according to that sequence, you can choose chapters from this book and you can practice them accordingly. Not according to the sequence that is given in the index of this book, but according to the sequence of the parts of speech. And once you start solving the blanks, the match the following, or whatever questions are there in this book, you will start to gain some fluency or some smoothness in your language. If there is anything in particular that you need help with and you want us to make a video on that, we will be more than happy to do it. Just let us know in the comment section down below and we will respond to your queries or your requests on any topic related to the IELTS exam. Thank you and have a nice day.